Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Build. Now this is a condensed version of all the episodes of Let's Build Arendelle into one giant time-lapse Let's Build, and you can watch the whole thing going up over this one 10-minute episode. Now I used World Painter initially to build and to terraform the world and the island where I was going to build the main castle. And you can see me here throwing down some different coloured wool blocks to plot out where we were going to put the walls and the guard towers. Now once we had those in place, it was time to switch them out for a combination of either stone brick or stone, and there's a bunch of cool new textures in the texture pack we're using. So it was a lot of fun to tinker around with those and find out what worked well and what fits with the castle of Arendelle. Now I put down some wool blocks to map out the main castle building, and then once I was happy with where that was, I came around to the edge and started to design these guard towers. Now I was going to go backwards and forwards on the design of these guard towers, and as you can see I've used traditional nether brick for the roofing, but in the movie the roofs are a kind of blue-green, so I came back and I changed the texture pack to make those nether bricks blue-green. I copied around some more towers and then built this final corner tower, which reaches up much higher than the others, afterwards, and again that was something I also came back to and modified slightly. Another thing that you might not be able to see is that I expanded the area inside the walls. I used copy and paste and cut to move out the towers and make the island a bit bigger. Now building the walls is very cool and very fun. I needed to get a simple pattern, a simple theme that I could easily recreate around the whole of the castle, because there's a lot of wall sections to this island. So I had to come back and repeat what I'd done with that first section of wall. And then I extended out the seawall section, and that's where I would put the lighthouse. And then I built this tower along the sea-facing wall that was going to become one of the rear dock gates. And again, it was just a case of first up I'd finished the towers, then I had to finish the walls around the outside. So I went around creating cool patterns and trying to stay as loyal to the movie as I possibly could. But the problem is when you look at the movie and when you look at the animation, a lot of the focus is on the foreground and there isn't so much in the background. So when you look closely at the castle and the scenery in the movie Frozen, you can see that there's a lot of kind of just flat, textured walls and spaces that haven't really had that much detail put into them. And that doesn't look so great in Minecraft. So when I came back and rebuilt this inside Minecraft, I had to make a lot of changes that I thought made the build look better, but weren't necessarily in the movie itself. Now with almost all of the walls done, I came around to the front and decorated the main front entrance. Now I could luckily copy and paste most of the walls from the rest of the build and then modify them slightly, and that's what I've done here. I've made this large cool wooden gate with fences at the front, and I decorated the main guard tower as well with some cool new techniques. Now one of the coolest things about this build, one of my favourite things, was the bridge out the front, and designing this was a lot of fun and it was really cool. I even changed over my shaders to better capture the reflections of the bridge in the water below. Oh, doesn't that look cool? And you got those flags, that traditional kind of green and pink that you see in the movie. And again, lighting is very important for a build, so I made sure that with the walls, I put enough decoration in them to have windows with which we could hide torches behind to make sure that the castle glows and lights up in the night. And then I came around to the inside of the castle, messed around a bit, redesigned some of the guard towers, and added some decoration to the inside of those castle walls. And of course, finished the lighthouse, and that was pretty much the outside of the castle complete. So with that done, it was time to tidy up and move inside the castle, again retrofitting and redesigning the insides of these walls so that when you're inside you're not just looking at plain walls. There's actually decoration and pillars cut into these walls that just bring out the detail and the depth in this build and make it a livelier and more realistic place to hang around and spend your time in. I needed to change the stone, of course, on the floor of the inside, so I messed around with that a bit, and then finally settled on stone slabs, decorated the entrance slightly with some staircases, put down the fountains in front of the main castle and mapped out with more wool the chapel. But again, the fountain was something that I changed heavily, and also the location of the chapel would also change in time too. It's always a toss-up between being faithful to the movie and then breaking from that because you know it won't look as good in Minecraft and replacing it with something that would look better. So you have to use your own discretion in how you're going to make your own personal changes to builds based on real world things. But if you trust your internal compass, it'll usually see you fine. Now, with most of the walls and the outside and the externals done, and I was really kind of holding off on building the main castle because it was such an important part of the build, it was something I really didn't want to mess up. So I gave a stab at it at first. I put down the center spire because the castle has a very tall central tower that's got a really sharp reaching spike that tries to pierce the sky. It's like a giant arrow. And getting these roofs in the right position was a really tricky feat. So it took me a long time to kind of map out the skirting for these rooftops and get everything in the correct position. And I did constantly come back to this, revisit, copy and paste where I could for ease's sake, and put in walls and stuff and experiment with how I was going to make the castle. One of the coolest things about this build and this texture pack was the combination that I'd found between stone brick, wood, glowstone blocks, and the chiseled quartz that we've used that's the kind of white paneling with the wooden bracing. It's very a very cool kind of, I don't know if it's Tudor or Georgian, but it's very kind of old-fashioned castle style building, and it's really, really cool. And again, windows were important because on this building there are an absolute truck ton of windows. So we've got a large one here on the left. I think we put two smaller ones on the right once we'd completed the roof and the walls there. And where we had windows that we were happy with, we copy and pasted them around the castle just to add even more decoration and depth to things like the roof. And you can see me here pasting in some more of those windows and decorating that front box. And you can see adding these windows really brings the building and the castle to life. Before I put these windows in, the rooftop was just a very plain and boring kind of flat slope. Again, adding these two more towers that are left and right of the central tall spike. And they were really fun to design as well because their rooftops kind of look like spiky arrowheads. So it was a lot of fun to try and design those. It's really cool to try and work out how you're going to do an abstract shape in Minecraft using only blocks that are cubes. It's a really good kind of test of your own internal kind of improvisational skills with building. I then came around to the front of the building and designed the main entrance. And this was, I think, pretty much near the end of the build of the castle. And by building that entrance, I think we completed, for the most part, the main castle. All that was left to do was the tower to the left. I decorated some of the windows at the top, replacing some of those roof sections with more stone brick. And then building these roof boxes around the back of the castle. Now, these are some of my favorite parts of the castle, these kind of window boxes around the back. They look really cool. I think they're decorated just perfectly. And they add a bit of variation and detail to the back of the castle, which was really lacking in any kind of personality at all. So it was really cool to put those in and get those decorated. And again, adding more windows, the same style from the front, copy and pasted around the back. World Edit is one of the most useful tools you will ever have when you're designing a very big build. So if you ever get into big building, make sure you learn how to use World Edit because it's a really cool tool. And that was the castle pretty much complete. But I wanted to come around to the left and I had to delete where we put the foundations for the chapel because there's a large circular tower that reaches up on the left of the castle and adds, it just adds a little bit more to the castle. I'm not quite sure why it's really there in the animation. It might just be like a building that's plonked there to add a bit of, I don't know, detail and depth. But because we're sticking as faithfully to the build and the movie as possible, I wanted to add it and put my own spin on it. Now what that meant is we had to redesign where we were going to put the chapel down. And what that meant was we had to copy and paste the whole castle just a few blocks backwards so that we had enough space to put down the chapel. And again, using wool blocks for the foundation, decorating it, and building up again with stone brick, cerulean nether brick, which is a really cool looking texture there, and then the roof itself. Now, if you ever want to capture something from a movie or a certain kind of build that you like in real life or some kind of fiction, but you don't quite have the textures, don't be afraid to just dive into the texture pack and modify slightly how the texture presents itself. I just changed the color of nether brick from red to blue, and you can see the amazing effect that that's had on this build. It's really brought it out and made it very frozen in feel. And again, just making small changes to your texture pack or using completely different texture packs can change the theme and feel of a build dramatically. And here we go, we're finished. Now, I redecorated the front of the castle again, because in the movies it's got a kind of rock island that it's on, but I wanted to use grass and pine trees because it looks just so much better in Minecraft. One thing you can get around in Minecraft to make anything look better is just throw down a bit of nature. Put down some grass, bone meal it, throw down some trees as well, and you have instantly a better looking build. Just let nature fill in the gaps for you. Now, this was a really fun build. I really loved the movie Frozen, and I really wanted to recreate something from it. I considered doing the town as well outside, but that would be a colossal build, and I learned my lesson when I tried to build Erebor and spent about 20 episodes just building Dale outside. But this has been a really cool and really fun build. One thing I'm really keen to do is fill up the inside of the castle and get this map working as a survival games map where we can come and play and have fun and just live inside this world that I've built. Be a really cool, really fun thing to do. And going forwards, I'm looking at making some more one-off, smaller builds so that you guys can just not get so engaged and feel so committed to these like 10 episode series. While it's cool to do big builds, it's nicer just to have some one-offs here and there that you can enjoy on a whim. So I've been Sjin, and this has been Let's Build Arendelle. Hit like and favorite and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for some more building. Take care.